Okay, so we are live. Welcome to another TROM-Cast. Before we begin, I want to always mention that if you want to help this project, you can translate our books or our videos or make a voiceover for our videos in different languages. You can go to tromsite.com/savetrom, and all of our materials are trade-free and are available for anyone to edit and share and whatever, we don't own them, they are trade-free, so you can help with that. You can contact us if you want to translate. Several people are working on translations and stuff like that, which is fantastic. And if you also want to help us, for example, financially, you can go to tromsite.com/donate and you can help us there, and it's extremely helpful. And with that being said, today's topic is who owns the world. It cannot be a bigger topic. What do you think about that? The topic comes because to our TROM-Cast, because I made a book called The Origin of Most Problems, and I'm not going to get into details about this book because it's not yet finished, even though it's like 700-800 pages long, and we need a few more because it's not enough. And for that book I was thinking for that book, like in one section, who owns the world, but I'm not curious that who owns the food production. I'm not curious who owns the transportation, the production of vehicles. I'm curious like who owns the entire world, like movies and entertainment and all kinds of foods and the internet and so forth. And this is a really crazy question even to ask, because where do you start? So just to summarize really quickly, I had to go through so many infographics and data and try to figure out how to measure which company is like more dominating more field. Because let me give you a quick example. Apple, for example, in terms of how much money they make, I got a message that my audio and my video is not properly synced. I think we have to deal with this, because I'm not sure what I can do. Can you check, Dima, to see if it's that bad? Yeah, well, whatever. If it's not that bad. So I was thinking like who owns the world? And Apple, for example, in that category of smartphones, Apple is completely dominating the field in terms of sales and profits, but or in terms of profits. But other companies like Samsung, they are selling more phones. So I was trying to realize who owns that market: those who make more profits or those who make more phones. So just to give you an idea, that's what I took into account, all of such things. And I created my own kind of list of companies based on a lot of data. It's not something like that you are going to find in other places. And then my big challenge was how I'm going to present to you that, because there is a huge list, like it will be very boring. So my idea was, let's create a search engine, and through this search engine you can search millions and millions of items and you will see who owns what. And my result is like 175 companies pretty much own the entire world. And I excluded weaponry. I didn't want to go into that, or finances, because they don't really deal with physical stuff, and like luxury items, because maybe a company doesn't produce that much, but they are so expensive that they will be on top of the list, and they don't produce that many brands or something like that. So that's basically it. And yeah, Dima, you can, if you have any thoughts about in general about the subject, maybe in the meantime I can try to fix my thing here. Yeah, I think we have a problem. Your sound doesn't go through. Yep. So let me see. Yep, I can hear you. Hold on. Did you change the mic when? Okay. Yeah. People can wait a little bit. Let me built in audio. Okay. Can you say something?
Yeah.
I think now it's working. Let me see if people are confirming that it's working.
Yeah, you heard me. That's.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see.
Okay.
1 second.
What was the problem?
It works, Aaron? Oh, okay, so it works. I think it's was a different kind of output from.
Okay.
From your.
Yeah. So.
So whatever you said, only I have heard. If you want to summarize a little bit from what you said.
Yeah, I was speaking about brands. It's funny to repeat everything again. Sorry, I was speaking about, let's say, Coca-Cola brand or other brands. For example, Coca-Cola owns 500 different brands under their umbrella, and they operate in 200 countries. And that's so crazy. So you've got this, what it creates illusion of choice. When you go to the shop, let's say to any shop, and you want to buy a drink, there stands, Coca-Cola, Sprite, and Fanta, and Bon Aqua water. But then, and you think, yeah, it's okay. There's a market, there's different companies and so on. But at the end, it all belongs to Coca-Cola. And the same with many things, like in your book and in your search system, Theo, you can notice that pretty much all of the products in a supermarket, they're like, how many? Like 50 companies? I don't remember exact numbers, but it's just very few companies who basically owns everything, So yeah.
Even for me it was extremely surprising, because so I made the search engine, and then I was trying to add more companies, and I was going to supermarkets, and I was looking at the brands, and then I was reading there who made it. Like, I think at one point I was suspicious there for them. It's like, what is the dude is doing in our shop, like reading all of the brands. And I was searching, and then I realized that, wow, so many, like, is a company called Mondelez International. That company makes pretty much all of the sweets that I see in a supermarket. And it's not only that, what I realized is that supermarkets themselves, they make stuff. They are not only distributors, but they also make all kinds of brands, from sweets to beverages. They make their own, and they have this extremely powerful position, because most people buy from such places as supermarkets. And it's interesting. I never thought about that. And I can even show you.
Yeah, and it's the same in every industry, not only if we're talking about shops and goods. It's the same in the music industry, the same in the movie industry. Like in the music industry, there are only 3 major brands. It's Sony, Universal, and Warner, and that's about it. I mean, 3 big players. The same like in the movie industry, there are only 5 major movies companies, and pretty much like from 70 to 90% of all of this comes through just a few players. So
yeah, like I switched to. This is our search engine, and for everyone who is confused why the title is The Big Farts, it's because there is a joke in a book, but it has some sense. So if you want to get the joke, read a book. And before we go to search stuff on our search engine to see who wants what, and we are going to search for movies and for sweets, for brands, for pretty much anything you can imagine. On the same page, I made a huge infographics, and we can go through it, and we can discuss based on that to show you some stuff from the infographics. So if you scroll down, okay, you will see first infographic. It's about food and personal or household care, and I I am trying to. Yeah, someone also suggested, let's before we do this, people can suggest what we should search for, you know. And I tried to somehow summarize with these infographics what these companies are owning. So let's take the food and personal and household care. And by personal and household care, I mean like toothpaste and you know, like shower gel, all of the stuff that you're buying. So who owns what? And just like one, to put it like one example, I have it here. One single company out of them all, out of these 175 companies, one of them all has a 28% market share. By market share, I mean the entire market of a thing. Doesn't matter what it is, beer or sweets or cars. The entire market. One single company has a 28% of beer sales in the world. So whenever you buy a beer, there are 28% chances that it will be made by this one company. And it has like 500 beer brands in more than 100 countries, you know. And I never heard of that company. Do you know, Dima, that company? It's
no.
Yeah,
I'm also surprised by the number 500.
This is the company. I will even show you, because if you click on the images here, you can read more. It's called like this. I think it's from Germany, probably. You never heard of it? If it's from Belgium?
No, I don't drink alcohol. That's the problem.
me neither. But usually I've heard about alcohol names, like beer names, and like in advertising.
Yeah, AB InBev.
Yeah, look, the brands here. These are the kind of brands that you some of the brands you will find them everywhere, basically.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy. But what you would say to the people, you know, if they say, you know, I don't care if it's, you know, belongs to one company, because it's not necessarily the brands which are, you know, were developed by the company. Quite often it's just, you know, the bigger brand, you know, by the smallest one. And kind of the smallest brands still operate under its names, but you know, all the profit, like most part of the profit, go to the, you know, parent brand. So if people say, you know, I don't care,
what would I say? I would say that these companies have so much power that they can dictate the entire market with whatever that product is, and no other company can rise and can challenge them. So they can raise prices. You know, for beer, I don't care, but for food, I may care.
Yeah,
you know, so that's a problem. They influence laws. They do all kinds of shitty things, like lower wages, because they have that power. So they can do a lot of mess, and they do.
Yeah, and they also can create cartels, but it's also now with other brands, you know, when they like have these secret meetings and they decide, okay, let's like raise the price, let's say, on all chocolate or all the beer and so on. And there are a lot of cases, you know, a lot of proofs, and there was like courts and everything which, you know, prove such things, and also on governmental level as well.
They even get fined. Like, there is not like, oh, maybe you did that. No, they are like, okay, we admit we did that. Samsung, Google, I'm not sure if Google, but Samsung and LG, others conspired to keep the prices for CDs or for the RAM memories or LCD screens. So it happened many times. It's not like a...
In many fields, it's there was the same with the book price, like the old companies who owns all the, you know, was classical printing, like paper printing industry. When the ebooks started to rise, they just got this meeting and decided, you know, to do something with the prices. So there was like big agenda between ebooks and printed books, and it's really shocking today. But today we still sell more printed books than ebooks. And when I found out, I was shocked. I couldn't believe. So I searched the issue why it was happening. But yeah, that was exactly, they pushed Amazon to kind of raise ebook prices, because Amazon owns like 70% of all ebooks sold worldwide, like 70% only Amazon about ebooks. So they were forced Amazon to higher the prices for ebooks so they can sell more printed books. And since they did that, it was I think it was 2014, because right there there was more ebooks sold than printed books. And as soon they kind of even those prices, where it's not a big difference if you buy printed book or ebook. So we are now again back in this thing when we produce more ebooks and sell.
And if you think
more print books.
Or more print books, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. We produce more print books than ebooks today. And it's so, like, imagine for ebooks, you don't need to do anything. It's just, file. You don't need, to cut a tree to send to printing, buy ink, and to pay for delivery and all the taxes and everything. It's just file, which can be, duplicated billions of times.
How come a book that is printed and made out of something that's solid, like from trees, basically, be the same price as a digital copy? That's why this money game is completely detached from reality, from resources.
yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, that's the answer to the question. What happened when just few companies control the whole business? Like in this example with the books, it's only 5 major brands who control all the printed book industry. So
jeez.
Yeah,
I'll give you one more example here. It's like another company, everyone may know this, Coca-Cola. Sells more than 1.8 billion beverages every day, more than 200 countries. So imagine that, 1.8 billion selling beverages. We cannot even imagine. We are 7.5 billion people. Every single day. Imagine how big this is. When I was little, I was thinking that, Coca-Cola and Fanta, they are competitors. I was thinking some people drink Coca-Cola, some people Fanta. But in fact, Coca-Cola produces Fanta.
yeah. I was thinking the same. And I bet a lot of people do. Yeah. Maybe Coca-Cola is obvious, but let's say like Mars, Snickers, Bounty, and Twix, and what's not, they also belong to Mars.
If you go to like a fast food and you see those places where you can like put drink in your cup, and you have multiple choices, they're basically all Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola.
Yeah, and even water. That's funny because, like, I know it's not, maybe in some countries it's different, but in Europe it's usually Bon Aqua, and it's also owned by Coca-Cola.
Yeah, or Nestle.
Yeah.
They own a shit ton. Nestle is like Nestle. I think Nestle is by far the biggest when it comes to food and beverages, but food is the biggest. If you go in a supermarket, just look at the small print somewhere, you will see Nestle on so many brands.
Yeah, crazy.
And if you go down, for example, these companies together, meaning a few of them, but this infographic is like is coalesced, is like a merging of them all. They manufacture 70 to 80% of the most popular and best-selling candies brands from around the world, which is crazy. Like they produce the beverages, they produce the food, basically they produce even the candy brands, which is crazy. Let me see what candy brands. I was curious. Like M&M's, Trident, Milka. For example, Milka is quite popular in Europe.
Yeah.
Orbit gum, for those who know. Galaxy bar. So many of them. And let's go down. When it comes to, because it's not only the brands and the end product that you see wrapped in a plastic bag, it's also the ingredients. you know, that even those are owned by a few companies, and it was very hard for me to find data on that, but I still found. So for example, one single company is responsible for around 30% of the world's dairy exports, like milk, yogurt, cheese, and butter. One company, 30%. Imagine, because you don't need more than a few companies to own 100% of them all. It's from New Zealand, I think. It's called Fonterra, for those who are interested. Which is crazy. And then one company has a 25% market share of the global salmon market and 30% of the global trout market. So again, one single company, imagine how big it is to have 25% or 30. May not sound much to you, but it's huge because it's one company. Yeah. It's amazingly huge. And let's go down to see. And together they account for 11 to 60% of all the global fishing, like all of the fish that are catched. This may not seem really much again, but they also are responsible for 40% of the most valuable and biggest species. So the same companies, the same group, they catch 40% of the most valuable and the biggest species. Imagine that. And one more, they also own more than 50% of the seeds market.
I think isn't it was like I was reading today, Monsanto owns about 47% of all like global seed distribution.
It's interesting with Monsanto because many people are like, oh, Monsanto. First of all, Monsanto, a bigger company bought Monsanto, like Bayer, I think it's called or something. So Monsanto is not even, it's even bigger than that. Okay, so now whatever people accuse Monsanto of, they should remember that they are owned by another company which is the biggest now, combined the biggest. And whatever states data you know from the past about Monsanto, now it's even bigger. So yeah, they control, I think, I don't remember exactly, but it could be like maybe 25% of, not 40, but three or four companies own like 60% of the seeds, I think.
Yeah, imagine how scary is that, you know, when like 3 companies or one company owns so much of the seeds, which actually, you know, it's vital for human survival. I mean, you know, to regrow the foods. And I know how hard it is, you know, even to go and buy some, I would say like natural, like pure seeds, which will regrow next year, because what they do, like companies like Monsanto, they like modify the seeds so that they not gonna grow next time. So next year you have to buy the seeds again, like how it was so always before. You've got the seeds, you know, you put like the cucumber in the ground, it grown up, you know, you take the seeds for the next year, and you know. And today, yeah, they push so much this seed market. It's only 1 year seeds, and yeah, you kind of stick to them, and each year they raise their prices. And what I wanted to say, that it's like in Latvia, a lot of people grow stuff still, you know, like even, you know, some small stuff, and they don't necessarily have, you know, huge gardens with the food, but still quite a lot of people grow. And it's really hard to go somewhere and buy this, you know, this real, the pure seeds. So there are some alternative markets and so on, but it's really really go fading out. It's really
how a strange concept to own the seeds, if you think about it.
Of course.
It's and they treat it like it's software. They're like our seeds, because I believe that's how they patent them. They have whatever genetically modified technologies they applied and techniques. They say that's our patent, and they can easily detect it in all kinds of seeds. And then they say, are our seeds, you want to use them? Maybe you have a license. I'm not sure how it works, but maybe you have a license to use them once, or for a period of time, or something like that. But in any case, they control them. And by seeds, you mean so many, like, think about plants, think about vegetables, think about so many, like fruits, so many. And if they get their hands on this and they patent it, then those tomatoes They are proprietary, which is such a strange concept because it's not software, it's food.
Yeah.
Such a strange
just
thing.
unbelievable. It's like Nestle planned to privatize the water. So it's not accessible to humans.
Maybe they'll patent the H2O or something.
Yeah, H2O, exactly. Good idea.
They have to act quick, you know. Okay, let me give you a few more stats. Like the poultry production, like chicken, turkeys, and eggs, is almost double as that of their next 7 competitor combines. And I put it in perspective here. The 170 companies that I am talking about own as much, and for the scale, their next competitors, look how small they are. All of those small competitors make like this big one. Like they have no competitors. That's the point. They are so big. The same for when it comes to pork, the production of pork is like they are as big as their next 3 competitors combined. So again, extremely powerful. And now is the last part of the infographics for food is the supermarkets, because I never realized that, you know, supermarkets have so much power. But like here is like they account all of these 175 companies for 80% of the locations wherever you see supermarkets around the world. So it's very likely, it's almost impossible to buy food now unless you buy it from these 175 companies. Like in Europe, it's I think one big one is Lidl, and Kaufland or something like that is called. In US, it's Walmart. Do you know any other, like Aldi? All of these are included in the list of 175 companies. Yeah. And even these are, some of them are owned by another company. So one company owns multiple chains. For example, 7-Eleven has the most stores in the entire world. Like it's crazy how much they own. Let me see if I can show you there. Like 7-Eleven has stores in 46,000 locations around the world, which is crazy. And the next one, only like, let me see by this, only 12,000. So they have like 3 times, or almost 4 times more stores in more locations than their next competitor, which is Spar. Yeah. Carrefour, yeah. Tesco, all of these. So just to summarize, when it comes to food, companies, not those 175, only 175, a few of them, of course, because I took them all together. They own the food production, the raw materials, they own the brands, they own the distribution, the supermarkets. Pretty much every food that you are going to buy it's owned by one of such companies that it's in this big list. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. Next is hardware. What about hardware? You know, because hardware is such a broad topic. Hardware can mean so many things, like household items, computers, and so forth. So here it was extremely difficult, and I want to make a side note here. You can find so much statistical data, but it's behind paywalls. So it's such a pain in the ass, because I really wanted to have access to that data, but it cost like 40-50 euros a month or something like that, and it was so difficult to get all of this data, which is, you know, sucks, because you want to do this for a good cause. Just, you know, a side note. So hardware. What about hardware? Who owns your laptop? Who owns your phone? Who owns the stuff that it's in your phone? Who owns your microwave or your LCD or your projector or anything like that? Let's see who owns them. So one company has more than 10% market share in white appliances. Those are like washing machines or whatever, like housekeeping tasks, machines for housekeeping tasks, the white goods. So one company more than 10%, and another one has it makes around 90% of all AMOLED screens, and all of the new smartphones have AMOLED screens. So if you have a smartphone, a new one, then one company owns 90% of all of this market of AMOLED screens, because people may not realize that when they buy an iPhone, it's not like the iPhone is making the hardware. No, parts of your iPhone are made by Intel, are made by even Samsung, their competitors. Like the screen is made by Samsung, the processor is made by Intel, the RAM memory is probably made by still Samsung, or it's very likely. So you call it an iPhone, but there are so many companies who make this, who make all of the stuff. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'm kind of aware about that. Also about where they produce stuff, like the companies like Foxconn, for example.
Yeah.
You know, it's the major producer, you know, of the
40% of all electronics made by Foxconn. 40% around the world.
Yeah, crazy, just by one company. But then it's like, if anyone's seen the footage from this factory, I don't know if it's even possible to call it factory, because it's really like a town, and they've got 800,000 workers there. So it's like like a normal size, you know, huge town. Let's say Riga, it's like the capital of Latvia is smaller than that, than this company. And yeah, and there are like crazy stuff going there. Of course, the people are underpaid. There are a lot of, you know, footage from the factory. The working and living conditions are terrible, and there was like this famous story about suicides where people, workers committed suicides, but instead of, you know, of improving their conditions of other workers, they just put kind of nets on the windows and balconies so people cannot like physically jump. And how stupid is that? I mean, so they probably counted, you know, it's just cheaper to put these nets than, you know, to raise the living conditions or salaries.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, 40%. It's for all electronics.
40%, one company.
Yeah.
And probably the rest is owned by 5 more other companies.
Yeah, no surprise.
So let's go to like specific. So LCD TV screens, okay? They produce over 60% of them. All of the LCDs, doesn't matter the brand. So all of these companies that I put there, over 60%. Over 60% of flash memory. You see, this kind of flash memory. Over 65% of best-selling gaming consoles of all time. So if you buy gaming consoles or console, probably made by them. RAM memory, 70%. Tablet computers, I don't think they are that popular nowadays, but still they make over 70%. Smartphones, over 70%. Imagine that. Personal computers, over 80%. So if you look at such numbers, if you have a phone, if you have a tablet computer, if you have stuff inside your phone like memory or LCD screen, I think you have like a 60 to 80% chance that they are made by all of these conglomerated companies, which is huge because the same companies, again, keep in mind, own the food production, and we will show you more stuff. So this is crazy. Smartphones, I think is like, if you look specifically, it's Apple and Huawei in China and Samsung. They pretty much make all of the phones. They don't have any competitor in that game. So yeah, even electronics, and this is just a small part because I couldn't get like what about processors? What about motherboards? They are made by Foxconn, for example. It's very likely. Yeah, so food and hardware, pretty much all of them are made by only these companies. What's next? Let's see. Okay, what about software, media, and entertainment? What about that? What about that? Do you think they stop here? Do you still think they only produce the hardware? No, they also produce the software. So think about this. They produce around 100% of smartphone operating systems. Like, if you have a smartphone, what operating system do you have? Android or iOS? You know, I will challenge anyone to give me the third option. There is no third option.
I think there's no. What I was searching.
No, you know that even open source, maybe you are aware of Purism, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, they try. Yeah.
But I think they just announced recently, no, that they plan to do something next year or so. If I'm.
Yeah.
I was reading the news. Like
that's an open source operating system based on Linux.
Yeah.
But what chances do they have?
Yeah, no chance. I mean, Linux, what chance Linux have? It got success only on servers, basically.
Yeah, because the same story is on personal computer. If you look at the graph, it's more than 96% of operating systems on computers. It's them. And when I say it's them, actually it's two of them, Microsoft and Apple. And the other one is Apple and Google, because Google makes Android. And Linux, what we use here and Dima uses, is like almost no one uses it.
This is so so strange to acknowledge every time. It's just we're speaking about these bubbles, when you know the people who use Linux and you think, oh, there are so many people around who use Linux, and that guy using and that guy, and then if you look on a global scale, you see it's less than 1%. Yeah.
At least we have that option, but on the phone, if I want to install an operating system on the phone, I don't think I can do that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's not. I think it's not possible on phone.
And even on computers, we are lucky because Linux is used by servers. Servers they have the same hardware like a computer, so they have to work with that hardware. And some other people made it to work with laptops and enable webcams and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. We are lucky because companies use Linux to make profits, to put on their servers to make profits, and luckily for us, we can install it on our laptops. Okay. Yeah. What about search engines? Can you people tell me another search engine except Google?
I'm using DuckDuckGo for 1 year, and I'm super happy with it.
Me too, but we are just two people. What is it? So it's like Google. Let me show you because I think it's a nice graph to show you. Look at this graph. Market share.
Google
90%.
90. Oh man, yeah, that's what I expected.
Bing 3%, Baidu 2%, Yahoo 2%.
And where's DuckDuckGo?
DuckDuckGo, I think it's at the bottom somewhere. Minus 0%. This is very depressing. Yeah. This is so depressing. Man, 90% Google.
Yeah.
That's why people even use Google as a verb. Like we have to Google it.
Yeah, you have to Google. Yeah, exactly. And in the States, like Americans, they often use like, instead of phone, they just say straight away iPhone. When they just mean like a phone, like a device, not like exactly model of phone. Just take your iPhone and type, my number or whatever. And
even Mac for computers, because I was talking to someone in the US and I was like, you have to turn off your computer, and then he was like, what do you mean? Like my Mac? If you have a Mac, if you have something from Asus or from LG or from whatever, do that. Wow, yeah, that's true. I'm not sure if is iPhone that popular in Europe, for example.
Well, I don't know, not amongst the people I know, but from the person, I don't know how to call, like from the regular persons, it's really popular. I mean, a lot of people really want it, even if it's their 2 months worth, two months of their salary, they still will save money all took a loan. And I know a lot of examples of such people, like especially in Latvia, where people are not so rich there, and they just basically can work
for a phone.
Like for a phone, their salary might be like 300-400 euros a month, and they've got like 1,000 euro phone. So
how in the fuck? Because the same situation is in Romania, and I'm like, how do you buy this super expensive phone? Because it's 3 times your salary.
Exactly. Yeah, they just take it like a loan. So they pay each month for 2 years for the phone. And then the new model comes and they take it, the new model again.
Wow.
And some people cannot eat, or just cut their some basic needs just to have this iPhone, to have this status, to have this,
Jeez.
the thingy.
What about emails? Many people don't use emails probably nowadays, but again, it's who do you think is there? It's like Gmail and the email from Apple or browsers. More than 78% of browsers they are responsible for, and of course, who do you think is the most popular? Probably Chrome. Look here, like Chrome.
But what about Firefox? I just don't know the data.
Firefox is just barely, like
Seriously?
barely, like 3% or something, or yeah, it's barely like yeah. And you know why? Because of smartphones basically. On smartphone, Google sells with Chrome, Apple sells with Safari. Not only that, but applications like Facebook, they have their own browser. So when you click a link from their app, it opens in their browser. So Firefox, it's pushed aside completely.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware about it. Wow.
Yeah, Firefox is so small, you wouldn't tell, because I use Firefox and it feels like wow, everybody uses Firefox. No, it's like I think 3% of something like that. Like Linux.
Wow.
You see another bubble popping.
That's a surprise for me actually about Firefox. I was sure it's about as close as the Chrome.
It was bigger in like 10 years ago or so. It competed with Internet Explorer, so it was huge. But then Google took over, and this is an example of why some pieces of software don't become popular, because for example Google has control over Android and they push through Android Chrome, so that's why it became so huge right now, so popular. It's not because people don't choose Firefox.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, everything is pushed. Like, what choice do you have if you go to the shops? Like, if you go to supermarkets and they sell all the same, goods and from just bunch of brands. I mean, what choice do you have? Yeah, you can go for some local shops where there's different stuff from smaller, companies or from some local market. But mainly, everyone is going to the supermarkets or the big shops, big online shops like Amazon and stuff.
And because of prices, they don't have competitors. Because big chains of course you will go to like Walmart because they have cheaper prices than someone who's local. They can make that. And what about social networks that people use? Because people say, oh, you don't like Facebook, go on Instagram. Shit, Instagram is Facebook, owned by Facebook. Yeah. Go to WhatsApp. Shit, it's owned by Facebook. So they own 14 out of the 16 most popular social networks and instant messaging apps.
Do you know what are the two others?
I will tell you now. So Facebook is first, then it's YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat. It's in China. It's among one company from those 175 owns it. Instagram, QQ again, and Qzone owned by the same 175 companies. This one, TikTok, is from China and is not owned by any big ones, but it's like a Vine, so probably someone will buy it.
Yeah.
Again, this one's the same, and Reddit. I think Reddit and TikTok, they're the only ones. Yeah, probably out of the 16 ones. So Reddit and TikTok. That's it. But look how the graph is like Facebook dominates, and here everything breaks. Like from QQ down is like bye-bye. So that is with social networks. You have no choice. You have like 14 companies to choose from. Social networks. What about applications? Apps on Android and iOS. They make around 75 out of 100 most downloaded apps on Android and iOS. Not only that they make the operating system, they also make the apps, which is crazy, like nuts. Do you know? It's like it's a portal of game called Miniclip. Have you heard of it? It's huge. Like all of the small games, pretty much. If you play one game, it says Miniclip everywhere, and they make they are owned by a Chinese company, and they make pretty much all of the games, all of the small games. Every small game like to play on your phone is made by them. So you may not think about that, but there you go. Even applications. What about websites? They own 54 out of top 67 most popular websites in the world. Put that in perspective. These are the websites: Google, Baidu, blah blah blah. Baidu is like Google in China, because Google is banned in China. That's why there are some competitors, because they come from China or Russia mainly. In China, Google, Facebook and the like are banned, so they have their own shit, the same kind of applications. And Russia is basically, in a way, is the same, like, but that's pretty much it. No competition. Okay. What about selling games? They make 45 out of 50 top selling games of all time. Okay. When I say 45 out of 50 top selling games, it's not like they made 45, they made like 90 something % of pretty much all games. That's what basically means.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's interesting about the games that how it's hard to compete to the smaller companies, because it's not like in different fields, let's say in music, where the technologies are so available now today, like they're cheap and you can produce really good stuff on cheap money. With the gaming, it's totally different, because it's mostly about the graphics, and to create graphics, and it's really powerful hardware, and it's always gets improved, and you have to invest a lot of money in big teams. And just as a small one, or like as a freelance or indie game maker, you just cannot compete, because you don't have this hardware and software to use. It makes it like impossible to go there into competition. So that's why mainly indie game makers, they concentrate on the small games, like for the mobiles, or some 2D low graph smaller games.
Exactly. Yeah. How can you have the resources?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say like the game GTA 5. Yeah,
GTA 5.
You know this game,
Grand
right?
Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. So they spent like several millions on the production of this game, and it took them 5 years just to produce, to create this game. And it's crazy. I mean, like, how can you compete with that, when they've got like multi-million budgets, they've got team of thousands, there's like more than 1,000 people worked on this game, like various artists and various designers and software engineers and stuff. And yeah, how can you compete?
And like with every domain they can buy you, like Microsoft bought Minecraft. It's a very popular game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what actually exactly the story. Like the Minecraft, it was like indie game, and it's like really low graph game, but it was somehow appealing to the people, not because of the graphic, but because it was something new. And they got sold. And it's like every other brands and every other company. As soon as you've got something, they will buy you as soon as they see a threat in you.
Yeah, like I will show you now. Now I had to say it to word my statistics the other way around, because they own pretty much everything in this field. So only 7 out of 100 best-selling music artists of all time are not signed with them. Just only 7. Pretty much everyone is signed with this 175 companies.
I'm actually surprised that there are even 7.
It's all the time, so maybe some is like a rarity. But we will search now on the search engine to see that pretty much anyone it's owned by them. And then only 18 out of 100 best-selling books of all time are not published by them. So they own the book market, like Dima explained. And only 4 out of top 100 grossing movies, like they made the most profit of all time, are not made by them. Only 4.
So probably these 4 movies are not American movies.
Probably. Who knows what the fuck those rarity were? Statistically insignificant, a doctor will say.
That's incredible statistic. I don't believe it. Like, really, 4 movies? So many. It's like
wow, you are like pessimistic.
No, I was sure it's 100%.
Well, that's the graph, you know.
So you see, there are some chances. Like sometimes you can win a lottery.
If the doctor will say you have 4% chances of surviving, I don't think you will go home and have a party.
Well, maybe. Depends how strong your beliefs. You know, you have to believe with a stronger force.
Yes.
Or meditate.
Oh man! So as you can see, food, hardware, software, and entertainment, completely owned by these companies. Let's see what's next. Surprise, surprise. Transportation. What about transportation? Let's see. They make 85% of all motor vehicles in the world. And I want for people to focus a little bit on this, because all motor vehicles in the world, it's not like only cars. All motor vehicles in the world. So like scooters, like construction, for construction sites, all kinds of motor vehicles. Imagine this, 85%. When I was doing this search engine and I was researching for cars, I would go out and because I'm never good with car brands, but now I am, because I learned them. And I was going and I was looking at all of the parked cars, and I swear to you, I could not find one car that is not made by such companies like, you know, like BMW, Volkswagen. Volkswagen makes like even Lamborghini. Volkswagen makes Lamborghini. Volkswagen makes Porsche, the Porsche car. They make, I think, Bugatti as well. Those big names that you may think that they are independent, no, they are not. You see, such a crazy statistics. So even for airplanes, for all of the airplanes that are in the air and are used for transportation, they are responsible for 60% of all of the worldwide traffic. Put this in perspective. When you travel, do you think you can choose any option besides this?
Yeah, to build your own.
Build your own car, you know, and your own airplane. You know, the Wright brothers could do it. You could do it.
Yeah, exactly. What's the problem?
Well, we are laughing at this because I think it's a bit of a nervous laugh, because like, fuck, really?
Yeah.
What can we do? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Sure.
The more you're exposed to this information, the more you understand that it's so hard to change something, even if it's possible, you know.
One category that was extremely difficult for me to analyze is clothes and furniture, because it's so convoluted. It's so like, we don't know, there is no statistics that I can find, and clothes can mean anything, like shoes or something like that. But what I found out is that Adidas and Nike, for example, and Puma, they have no competitors in the sports game. They make the equipment for sports. They make sports like clothes for people. They make so that is completely like. And what I also noticed, something that I didn't know, it's a company in Spain called Inditex. Inditex owns Zara, Pull&Bear, Bershka, and so many other brands that are full here, like in Spain and in Europe is full of such brands. And as for furniture, IKEA has no competitor. IKEA is so big that it's like, fuck off the competitors. Like, you cannot compete with us. You want to buy furniture, you buy it from IKEA or from a store owned by IKEA. They have the cheapest prices. Yeah, so even like the only thing that I could properly find is for eyewear. They have a 34% of market share in eyewear, and their next competitor has a 3%. This is how it looks like. So they have no competitors. Whew. More? Let me go faster because we have to also search for stuff. Healthcare. Okay, what about healthcare? Jeez. Okay, let's see. They own around 40% of the entire pharmaceutical market. So if you buy drugs, 40% chances that you are going to buy from them, and they are responsible for 43% of all drugs prescriptions in the world, and also they own more than 90% of the vaccines market.
That's interesting.
Vaccines made by these companies. And the last one I think is resources. One company has a 60% market share in zinc, and another one has 50% market share in copper and other kind of materials. So yeah, that's again just a last reminder, 175 companies are responsible for this and a lot more. Oh, only that. Jeez. That was, I need to drink some water.
Okay, yeah, I think we have to search.
Yep, let's search something. Let's see how the search engine works. Okay, so I was like, let's see, top movies 2018. Let's use Google because Google is like very trendy and has 90% market share. So let's take this one, Avengers Infinity War. Okay, we copy the name exactly how it is. It's very important because that's how the search engine works, and we paste it over here. And because it's such a, we don't have a powerful server, it's going to take a few seconds to search through millions and millions of items. So let's see, who do you think made this movie, like Avengers? You see multiple results. One is under the magazine and books. We don't need that because it's also a book called like that.
I think you have to switch the screen.
Sorry about that. Okay, that's it. Sorry about that. Okay, so we search for Avengers Infinity War, and you have two categories here, magazines, and one is movies, channels or programs. And you can see this is who makes this movie, the Walt Disney Company plus 21st Century Fox, because they merge together. They are huge companies. They made this movie. See how interesting it is. Let's say another one, Incredibles 2. Let's see who makes this one. These are again the top movies in 2018. It takes a while, like I said, it has to search millions and millions. Movies, again, the Walt Disney Company and 21st Century Fox. You see, and it's very nice because you can see what section of their company is responsible for this movie, like Pixar, Disney Pictures, and Disney 3D, Digital 3D. They all have rights. You see, it's very complex what they have. And if you click one of them, you can read more about the parent company for everything. Okay. We can search for like books. I searched like for the most popular books in 2018. Let me see, top books. With books, it's so hard because man, there are like millions of titles and you cannot find all of them. So I think I added like 30% of all books. So even if you don't find something, probably it's still made by them, it's published by them. But just so you know, and I will tell you something after. No, it doesn't find anything from this one. So I had to go on. I had to make a script that goes on websites that are for these companies, publishing companies, and look for titles of the book, and I will wait hours and hours and hours and hours. The script will take titles and put in a document, and then I have to put those titles to our server. Our server crashed. I was banned from those websites because of the script. It was a crazy thing. Okay, what can we search? Like I know this Milka is very popular, as I told you. Let's see who makes it. Let's see. And if anyone has any idea, I will look at the chat. It's Mondelez International. Okay. What kind of sweets are you familiar with?
Me? Oh, I don't know.
Or some brands, whatever brands, like.
Oh man, it's hard because I'm vegan and usually buying like this special chocolates without milk.
So you are the rare one, the Linux of.
Yeah, I'm also trying to actually avoid brands as much as possible in clothes and like in food. and pretty much everywhere I could, and it's really hard.
And tell me some artists. Do you know artists? Because you are a musician.
Yeah, there's a million artists.
I only know Eminem.
Yeah, type Eminem. It's good.
Let's see. He signed with what?
It's one of the three.
So he signed with multiple? Vivendi?
No, I think there are three major labels, so it's one of those three.
Yes, but he signed with multiple ones. Probably for different kinds of projects. That's what I found.
Oh, yeah, or maybe he was like working with one before. Then
sometimes they still own some rights for some works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like let's say he could record first album with Sony, and then second album with Universal, and so on. Yeah,
which is owned by Vivendi. Universal is not even like it's owned by some other company.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know any other artist, to be honest. Like, which one is popular? Let me see the chat. Let me look if people have any idea. Live chat. No suggestions. Another thing that whatever we can find is like, let me find like more movies in the meantime.
Yeah, so it's basically the search engine which scans through the internet, and
it's a local database. It's a local database that I had to copy. It's like updated in last time a few months ago.
Okay, so you have to update it time to time.
Yeah, because there is no way that it can search online. There is no way. It's impossible. So many brands, and whatever you see here, all of these logos are the 175 brands, and you can see who they are. There are here like a list. You can click it here. 175, and you can see exactly which companies are. But we can search for anything, like go into a supermarket with your phone and use this search engine and search for whatever you buy and see if they are owned and who owns them. Like for example, take iPhone. We all know who makes iPhone, but let's see something else. Because you can see here even which company is producing, like food. Walmart is sometimes you have like if it's not so specific the search, Walmart could sell like iPhone cases or something. That's why you can see here Walmart. But for hardware and software, you can see it's Apple, it's the Intel and customer. It's in customer for Intel, for example. You see, and yeah, you can search like you have here like categories, artist, labels, clothes, blah blah blah, all of this. Even toys, games, toys. You can search for any game. It's a popular game nowadays. Fortnite. That's why I call it. I think that's how you. Fortnite. Let's see who makes this popular game, because it's fucking popular nowadays. It's like a huge. They make so much money, so much profit from this game. Let's see who makes it. You see, Tencent. It's a company from China, and it's distributed through Nintendo and Microsoft Xbox. Yeah.
So this search engine is really useful for the research. Like if you do some kind of researches, or you're writing a book or do some work, you can quickly just type it and check.
Yeah, I use it sometimes to see if who owns what. Even like for America's Got Talent. It's a show. It's a big show. America's Got Talent. I think that's how it's called.
Yeah.
Even that you can find here, like TV shows, whatever you can imagine. Let's see. I'm curious. Like, is this show made by these companies? Sure. It's made by TROM-Cast.
Yeah, right.
You see, that's why it's really, really good. Like night shows, like talk shows, or anything you want to search. next time you buy a beer, type the name here and see who makes that beer. So I think it's to me, it's a mind-blowing, almost like search engine, because I don't think there is such a search engine anywhere to search so many brands at once from so many domains. I don't think it is. So for me, it's extremely like, wow, I was so happy with it. I was like, yeah, I managed to make it, which is really, really great. So anyways, if people want to use it, just go on tromsite.com. You have the link on the screen, and just give it a try. Search for stuff. Search for whatever you want to search for, whatever brands. Okay. I think that's it about who owns the world. I think we made the loud and clear the case. And what do you say, Dima, about this situation?
Yeah, maybe we should elaborate more about why it's so important, because I feel and I see that a lot of people don't give they don't really care who owns or not, unless it's a good product. They're just gonna use it. Doesn't matter who will profit from that in the end. But yes, we spoke before, yeah, right. So the one thing they can manipulate with this, if let's say Google controls 90% of all searches. I mean, and there was already some accusations about the Google, how he sell personal data, and how he put some search results on top. The one who paid Google for the promotion, and basically how he manipulates. And it's not maybe only about the adverts at the end, but also about of manipulating your choices, or let's say like elections or your ideas. It's go much deeper than that. So in this sense, it's always good to have alternatives. So like we spoke, okay, if we speak about search engines, you can use DuckDuckGo, the search engine which doesn't track you. You can safely surf, look for stuff there and can be tracked. But let's say if you take a phone, so you don't have this alternative. Every phone will track you, every phone will collect data from you, and you have no options to cancel it. So that's where these biggest problems of these monopolies.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very difficult to wrap your mind around the fact that a few companies pretty much control everything. It's very difficult because you see so many choices when you go. Even when you say, I'm going to buy a phone and I have so many choices. No, you don't. You don't have so many choices. You have a few choices. In a supermarket, you see so many sweets, so many food types. They are made by very few companies. Very few companies. Yeah, so I think it's
that's why it's I think important to realize and that basically every industry, every field is working by the same theme. It's there's just few key players who control everything, and there's like a lot of consequences which can be felt later. The same, the raising prices or banning products. So that's why it's important to search for alternatives. In every possible ways.
But it's very quite impossible, I think. Is
looking at the percentage, even if we take Linux, exactly, it's just a few, like less than 1% of computer users using Linux. I've seen some charts some time ago. It was about that, and but you have to do it. With Linux, as you said, it's cool about why we have Linux, basically, because it was used on the servers, where pretty much all the world now running on Linux servers because they're cheaper. It's just the only reason. They don't need to pay their licenses and stuff, and that's why all the companies took them and using them.
It's like that's why you don't have an option on your phone. No one is going to make a proper operating system for your phone because it's so much work.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like I personally, I try to use alternative whenever I can, whenever I possibly could, in all the, everything I'm buying or using services. I always search for alternatives. Yeah, it's not I cannot do any impact or any change on my own, but it's at least I'm, try to support some other guys who are trying to do something.
Yeah, me too. Especially with open source.
Yeah.
I always try that. At least I'm doing it for me. If like I'm using some free stuff and good quality stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about it. Should we recommend one documentary or we go for news?
Yep. One second. Let me see. We have a documentary in here.
Yeah, it's very cool documentary. I was blown away when I was watching it. It's like 2-part documentary about Facebook. And actually I watched it on Facebook, which is funny.
What? You watched it or you saw the...
No, I watched it on Facebook because I was searching for a place where to watch the movie, and it was like uploaded on Facebook by some user. So the Facebook dilemma, but it's crazy. It's really when you see how it is corrupt and how it's not possible to change it, and how they just speculate the data and everything. Oh, and interesting thing about after this movie, I decided to download my data from Facebook. So there's such option. You can download all the data they have on you. And I'm sure 100% it's not all the data because there was no like video or audio recording, but I was really shocked. I've downloaded like 2 gigabytes of content, and I have like Facebook maybe for 7 years or so. And there was everything, every single chat I had with every person, even those which are deleted and don't have account anymore. They have like all the pictures, all the files I've sent. They even have a list of the companies who have got my stuff and they bought the stuff about me. And what's the most crazy part, they've got, even if you type something in a Facebook search, like if you're searching for some person or for some page, they also save all these searches. And they basically got everything. And there was,
even when you delete the searches, I think.
Sorry?
Even when you delete the searches, I think.
Yes. If you type there, it's there. The same like with the Google. I mean, you cannot get this information from Google, but yeah, as soon as you type, they already store this information about you, what you are looking for. And yeah, it's interesting thing is Facebook that every user can go and download this stuff, and to see what information Facebook got on you.
And you can see this on videonet.com. We have all of the links in the description. Yeah, it's made by PBS, the public broadcast channel in the US.
They've got really good documentaries.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours long, so they go in depth.
Yeah. But it's really worth watching. It's like...
Yeah, I like that. I like it too. It's really great. Okay. And we can... we have like a section in this TROM-Cast. We mention some news that we find on TROM curated news that are interesting. So that maybe people are curious to use TROM news. We curate lots of news from all kinds of places. So tromsite.com/news. And yeah, let's mention a few news so people are interested, maybe. If you want to start or something. Like...
I found like a really interesting too. It's the one was about security and like privacy laws in internet. So it's really interesting to watch. And the second one was in India that they just passed the law, so the agencies can monitor and basically decrypt all their citizen computers and just look through them. Like officially it's allowed to do, so there is no privacy anymore.
That's crazy. Okay, so I found like one is like the stiffest possible material created by a 3D printer. This is the positive news, which is really interesting to read it. Another one is I read a news about a father who built a 3D printed hydraulic arm for his son, which is really interesting because he was like like an open source project, and it proves how if we work more openly and in an open source way, we can even have a direct impact with 3D printers nowadays. So you should read that too, it's very interesting. You will see some video with the father doing that. Another news that I've read, it's interesting, is like how you can use artificial intelligence to basically look from the space and look at the solar panels to see their distribution and to analyze to see which ones are more efficient, which ones are not efficient, and through software we can build better solar panels in better places, which is very interesting. Yep.
Yeah, I've read that too. That's interesting how they found, you know, all the map with all these solar panels.
And they put an emphasis on how it will be interesting to have this, like how useful it is to be open source and the data to be open to everyone to analyze it. They made a point. And two more news because I'm so excited. I put so many news today, but they are very interesting. So because the holidays are still coming, they are not going anywhere. The Electronic Frontier Foundation is looking at some popular toys that you can find and how they are spying on you and how much stuff you trade to them in terms of data, like Facebook portal or all of those smart devices that people want, they collect their data, which is crazy. And the last article that I found is really in-depth look at the proprietary side of things. We talked about seeds, but they look at software and hardware, and it's really crazy how far they got with this proprietary thing. Like even open source, they look at open source. You can have you can make a program that's open source, and some company may come along and say your software looks so much like our software, so they are going to sue you. Imagine that. They are called patent trolls. That's all they do. So this is crazy. Look, it's a big article, but I recommend them all. Very, very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, we'll look into this one.
Okay. And if there is something in the live chat. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Like one question is, are you going to include others to voice their ideas and engagement in this video cast, or it will be only you two? There is a problem with it's a technical problem. First of all, right now we use OBS Studio. It's a free open source software to broadcast, and we use Jitsi, and I get the video stream from Dima and I put it through Jitsi. But if I do that to multiple people, it's going to, last time with Sasha, it was very challenging. So we will try to find a better technological solution to this. But yeah, I think it will be interesting to have more people voicing their opinions here. We'll see. Yeah, I think it will be interesting. Who owns the world's oceans, air, atmosphere, or inside the earth? Actually, it's a documentary on Video Neat. It's like
I've put the link.
Yeah, that's great. Really cool. Ocean monopolies to see the craze. Like they want to own the beneath the water. Like how long our country stretches. Like, fuck.
yeah.
Okay, so I think that's just 2 questions. We have only 2 questions, I think, but that's okay. I mean, if anyone wants in the future to get involved in a live section, then perfect. If not, I think we covered the subject quite a lot, quite well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting again to see if you're first time into this and you're not aware. It's just a bit shocking to realize how just a few players control everything.
And I feel like it's also important with the tool that I made for this book that is more engaging. It's not like read a list of all of the brands. Here, you watch a movie just out of curiosity, see who owns that movie, or your phone, or something like that. I think it's really, really interesting. Yeah, I think it was a very interesting topic, and
yeah,
we will do more. I think next time, what do you propose next time?
About consumerism and compulsive buying, and it's like Christmas time and shopping. I think it will be really
so we have only negative subjects, like it's bad.
Well, shopping, everyone loves it. All the economy running by the shopping. I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah.
Next time we can talk about consumerism.
Yeah.
To see where this goes. Okay, I think it's enough for today.
Okay, see you.
Okay, I will close the stream and see you next week.
See ya.
Bye bye.